More important than that, the Shaykh, Salam, he mentions a point later, and it's connected to this point as well. Did anyone here negate that Mawdudi did good things for the Ummah? No one negated that. But did the ulama mention it when they spoke about his mistakes? They didn't. Principle as well. When you're refuting someone, you don't have to, nor should you be mentioning the hasanat, the mahasin that they have. Why? Because you're in what position now? Position of warning. You're not in a position of talking about their life or their biography. Some people, what they notice is that they see someone say, so-and-so, he was not mistaken here, he was not good there, they say, astaghfirullah. You hit all the good that he had. Is this the position to talk about their good? Ulama said, this is a mistake. Because if you mention the good of the person and the bad, which one of the two I'm going to follow? I'm going to look at the good because maybe I like him, maybe I didn't know about his position before. I know you told me that he did good things, and he prayed a lot, memorized the Quran. Even if we know, and this is in the biography, Mawdudi was one of those who was instrumental in the time of the partition between Pakistan and India, and one of those first critics against Gandhi. No one denies that. But none of the ulama, they mentioned that when they were refuting him. Why? Because refutation is to talk about why the person is not to be trusted. And we'll talk about later this idea of muwazana, the idea of muwazanat, balancing or trying to weigh out the good and evil of someone. Today, imagine somebody asked you, is so-and-so a good business partner? And you start saying how good they are at home, and mashallah, they're very healthy, they exercise. You ask me, the person is a good business partner, and I'm praising him, then I say, but he's also a liar. You might go home and think, well, he's still good at home. Maybe he's not such. You're going to get confused. Most of us, we don't do that. In fact, when you look at performance reviews at work, they don't talk about only the mistakes, but mainly the mistakes. In fact, sometimes they will only tell you how to improve. In the dunya, it's different than deen. The deen, the qawa'id, was protecting the deen. This will teach us a benefit that when you hear criticism, don't be overly sensitive. Think who's speaking and why. For example, this sheikh who said such and such about this speaker, why did he say it? Is there any truth to what he said? So I have to follow it up. If the sheikh is trustworthy, how can I doubt what he said? You have to be honest and you have to be open-hearted. Sometimes our own self, we have bigotry and we don't want to take from someone's criticism just because we don't like that the person is being criticized. But the brothers and sisters, we have to remember, if criticism is something which we're sensitive about, we must be more sensitive about something else, which is guidance and misguidance. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what did he tell us about the end of times? Hadith Hudayfa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, many of us we know. When Hudayfa asked him, would there be any evil after the good? He said, Na'am du'atun ala abwabi jahannam. There will be callers towards the gates of the hellfire. It's Hadith Bukhari and Muslim. Many people, they know it, didn't hear it, but also every time you read it, it gives you a reminder. Du'atun ala abwabi jahannam man ajabuhum ilayha qadhafuhu fiha. Whoever obeys them in that which they have called him to, follow their way, follow what they're saying, these misguided callers, they too will be thrown into the hellfire with them. Here, when this hadith, ulama commented much benefit. One of the benefits, just one of them, is that there will be misguided callers at the end of times. And Imam Nawawi specific and others mentioned, it is the Mu'tazila and the Rafida, the Khawarij, the big name groups. Anyone up after that following their way. Important. When someone tells you so-and-so is a bad speaker, should not put up sensitivity or be overly worried or concerned because the person's helping you, giving you nasiha, right? You think that they're just backbiting or they're telling you someone is not good because they're just doing that. Think. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is talking about a big affair. On top of this, some of the scholars, they mention a benefit. And we'll finish with this because next week the Shaykh gives the example we're going to talk about of Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, the great Imam, and his book Ihya Ulumuddin. Attention, brothers. Ghazali is a big Imam, right? In the history of Islam. Ulama, they spoke about his work, many of his positions. How? Why? We'll talk about next week because again, somebody may be thinking when they hear this, how is that possible? He's one of the greatest Imams in the past. Hujjatul Islam. How could you say anything about him? Imam, I want to mention this point. Under the hadith I just cited, Hadith Hudayfa, Hafid ibn Hajar, he mentioned a great benefit. We'll close with this. Any questions? Hafid ibn Hajar, he says in this hadith, Hadith Hudayfa, This hadith is proof of refutation against falsehood. Against falsehood. No matter who said it, whether he be one who's rafi' or wadi'. And whether he be someone lofty or lowly. This hadith is proof of warning, refuting the statement or the mistake of one who said it, whether he be lofty in position or lowly. Next week, when we're talking about Ghazali, no one's denying his high status or effort, but the mistakes we'll talk about how the ulama dealt with it. But imagine, this is Islam, the justice that we're talking about. Because if it wasn't for those mistakes, we agree that it's not allowed just to talk about someone. And this will also help us to become more trustworthy when we hear criticism and praise, because the people who are doing it are cautious, they're worried about Allah, they know what backbiting is, they fear Allah. When they say someone or something is wrong or not to be read this book, we should remember those ulama are much, much more fearing of Allah than us. Don't ever think for a second me and you are more cautious than them. Or that me and you have no better of the deen of Allah than them. But think about it that someone's giving you heads up to help you in your deen. That way you're going to be saying, subhanAllah, I never knew, jazakallahu khair, and I'm going to stay away from that. Because ultimately, as Ahl Sunnah Jama'ah, as well as part of our Aqeedah and methodology, manhaj, we have an understanding as how those people and those groups which are criticized, or books which are criticized, what the outcome is. We have answers to that. We'll talk about another time.